Well, welcome to another lesson of the Discover Headless Tech course. I'm Marcelo Lewin, Headless Creator. As always, get a hold of me right there, Marcelo at headlesscreator.com. Today, my guest presenter is Katie Hosley. You're going to learn a lot about her in just a minute. She's Senior Developer Advocate at BigCommerce, and she's going to show us how to use the Vercel integration for BigCommerce with Next.jS Commerce to go fully headless. But without further ado, let's bring her in. Katie, welcome.
Hi, Marcelo. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you here. Let's see, you're located in Denver, right? So it's pretty early over there as well.
Yes. Not as early as it is for you, but
it's only an hour, right? So yeah. I'm still with my coffee here. I need that to be able to speak here. So we're in for a really good treat with our stream here this morning. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get into tech?
So right out of college, I was an English major, which I feel like is becoming an increasingly popular thing in the world of tech. But when I graduated college, I got hired at this health and fitness startup in Minneapolis, where I'm from. And it was like a 4-person team. So I kind of dove into digital marketing. And we hired these developers to do a lot of our website updates for us. We had a very bare bones WordPress website, and it would take them weeks to do anything. And I just thought, there's no way it's this hard. And so I kind of just got interested in coding and heard about these boot camps and moved to San Francisco and did a boot camp in like 2017, 2018. And that's how it all got started.
So you went from being a digital marketer to being a developer. How hard was that transition?
It was funny. They're very similar in a different way. I felt like digital marketing, we were just experimenting all the time, always learning new things. And I think that translated really well into becoming a developer, where you're constantly trying things and learning new things. It's definitely less, I would say, stressful to become a digital marketer than to learn how to code. I feel like I had a lot of imposter syndrome when I became a developer that I didn't experience as a marketer. But I think they're both very creative. There's more similarities than it seems like on its face.
What did you find the easiest thing when you transition?
I think the easiest thing was getting over imposter syndrome, because in a boot camp, everyone was pretty bad at coding, and you realize that everyone's bad, and then everyone can get good. And it's, it's not that you're too dumb to learn it. It's just, you have to learn a new thing that's so different. So I feel like I was lucky where I could get over it, because so many of my peers that were my good friends felt the same way. And I know that that's a really difficult part of most people's journey into development.
Yeah, and I think the idea behind being a good developer is not so much about knowing everything, but it's about understanding logic and thinking in those terms, and then being able to find the information, right? Because technology changes so quickly that it's hard to keep up with everything anyway.
Totally. And being able to admit you're wrong, which I was almost constantly when I was first learning. So yeah, being able to ask the right questions and find the answers.
What was the most challenging when you transitioned?
I think it didn't occur to me how different programming was. Everyone says it's like learning a language, and some people say it's like math. And I think it's really a combination of the two. And I think it was significantly more difficult to learn things at first when I had no frame of reference for what variable types were, or for what, these, and the questions are so simple that you almost can't find an answer because they're so basic. And so I think that it's such a huge learning curve immediately, and then it really peters out. So I think, right in the beginning, that was really difficult.
Let's close up this interview with one tip you'd give somebody that wants to transition.
I think it's a 2-part tip. I think everyone can learn to code, no matter what your background is. Everyone can do it. And the best thing you can do when you're learning is to constantly ask questions and not try to act like you know more than you do, or anything like that. Like admitting you don't know and asking the right questions will get you very far very quickly.
Yeah, excellent. Actually, lied, it won't be the last question. Real quick, give us a quick overview of BigCommerce.
Sure. So BigCommerce is an enterprise-ready commerce platform with a complete foundation to build on, removing the ceiling to innovate. So with BigCommerce, you can build performant, secure, and scalable solutions much faster, with the flexibility to choose the tech stack that makes the most sense for your business.
Okay, cool. Well, I think we're ready for the presentation. I'm going to go ahead and show your screen there. For those of you watching live, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'll ask Katie. Katie, it's all yours.
All right. So I'm really excited to be here today to talk about going headless with BigCommerce. In this lesson, as Marcelo said, we're going to go through using the Vercel integration for BigCommerce with Next.js Commerce to go headless. So this means that the Next.js Commerce will be our front end. We're going to deploy on Vercel, and BigCommerce is going to serve as the e-commerce engine that kind of powers the whole site. You're going to learn just how easy it is to build this proof of concept headless storefront with little to no code. If I start coding, things have gone awry. I will not be writing a single line of code, and you can follow me step by step and achieve the exact same thing. We'll get our Git-centric workflow up and running in a few minutes and walk through how to manage this setup. And I just want to touch really quickly on why we are huge proponents of headless at BigCommerce. Headless is very performant. It's snappy. It provides this great developer experience because of its flexibility, agility, scalability, other ilities, and allows you to use serverless functions, serverless personalization, and it allows you to just do a lot more. And in this case, I feel like this integration allows for not only a great developer experience, but a great merchant experience. And having both of those, I think, is just extremely valuable. So like I said, we're building this headless storefront with BigCommerce, Vercel, and Next.js Commerce. And this, what you see right now, is what you'll see if you follow my exact instructions. But you won't have these random products I've put in my little store. You'll have whatever products are actually in your BigCommerce store. So this headless site is pulling directly from the products that I have uploaded in my BigCommerce dashboard. And I just want to show you really quickly what the end product will be, and then we'll walk through step by step how to get there. So this is the main page. And of course, you would want to update the UI. You'd want to get the look and feel that works for your brand or for your store. But I can go in here and I can see all my different products. And yeah, it's very simple, but whatever you have, whatever categories you have in your BigCommerce store, whatever products you have, will show up right in here. So why are we building this? Okay, so before we get into the next step, headless e-commerce might not be for every merchant, but for some, I feel a big concern I hear from people is worrying about the time sunk into getting things started and worrying about technology decisions. And this demo is meant to exemplify just how simple getting things started can be for headless. We aren't at BigCommerce, we aren't prescriptive about what our merchants use to build their stores. We're not prescriptive about going headless or staying head full, and we're not prescriptive about whatever tech stack you pick. But we do want to make sure everyone has all the information that they need to make the best decision for their business. And these starter kits, like I like to call this our Next.js starter kit, could serve as a really great solution for those of you who are on the fence or not quite sure how to get started. And either way, whether you already have a BigCommerce store or you don't, you can follow this demo. There's like a fork in the road for if you have one or you don't, and we'll walk through the whole thing. So I encourage you to just give it a shot because you will be surprised how easy it is. I'm not overselling the ease.
Real quick question for you, because you mentioned this may not be for everyone, right? Maybe you can give an example of who it's for and who it isn't, or what are some of the parameters. And I don't want to throw you off your presentation here, but just to clarify, so for people watching, they understand a little bit about that.
So funny. We recently had a Twitter space where we had this like huge debate about headless, whether headless is the answer for everyone, whether it is or isn't. And I think for some very small merchants who don't have an in-house developer or don't have the bandwidth or have like a lot of technical chops, headless might not be the right decision for them. I think it can become daunting if you don't have someone who can help you with these technical questions, who can help you make this a great solution for your business. But I think a lot of high grossing merchants, this is a great answer because you can create, I was going to talk a little bit later, but I can touch on it now. The benefits of headless, a lot of them are responsiveness and responsiveness. So if you're in the e-commerce game, it's no secret that responsiveness on your website is super important. And it's a benefit of like using the Jamstack to go headless. And so yeah, I think the verdict kind of in general that most people in the headless world agree on. And of course, someone will watch this and disagree with me, but that smaller merchants who don't have the bandwidth for the amount of work it takes to maintain a headless site might not be great candidates for it. But teams that have developers or technical folks internal or agencies that they work with, we work with a lot of agencies at BigCommerce, it could be a great solution for them.
Yeah, that's great clarification. And I would argue that smaller merchants meaning smaller volume of sales, not smaller as in number of people, because if you are selling millions of dollars a year, headless makes total sense for you. You just have to invest in some technology and some people, right? But yeah. Okay, cool.
Totally.
Excellent.
Yeah, you could hire someone or you can work with an agency.
Right.
Yeah, there's tons of solutions
Excellent.
there.
Yep. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so we're actually going to get started now. And if you want to follow along, the first place you're going to go is nextjs.org/commerce. So this is the Next.js Commerce site. This is how we get started. I call this the link to the starter. And our first step is going to be very simple. We're just going to click clone and deploy. So as you can see, this process is pretty easy because we're almost done, as it says on the page here. So the next step is creating a Git repository. Whether you use GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, or something else, you're able to pick here. I'm going to go ahead and use GitHub. I'm sure that's probably what most of you will use. And let's call this repository. I've done a bunch of demos, so I have to be creative. Let's do headless creator, VC, Vercel, next demo. Little wordy, but yours can be shorter. And then also you can toggle whether you want this to be a private repository or not. I always err on the side of making it private. So this will take just a second. So now this created a repo for us that is automatically connected to Vercel. So now what we have is a repo that is set up with a CI/CD pipeline where anytime you make any changes and push any changes in that repository, it will be reflected in the UI once we deploy this site. So now that repo is set up for us and this is connected, and our next step is to add the integration. So as you can see, there's a few integrations, and today, obviously, we're going to go with BigCommerce. So we're going to add that. That'll only take a second. And then here's the fork in the road I referred to earlier. So whether or not you have a BigCommerce store at this stage totally doesn't matter. But you need a BigCommerce store to actually continue on with the demo. So if you don't have one, you'll just click sign up. If you're like me and you already have an existing BigCommerce store, you can go over here to log in. This is where we get to right after we click like log into my store. And I was going to say, just as I'm not a designer, I'm also not a creative store namer. So my account is Katie's BigCommerce Company and my store is Katie's BigCommerce Store. Of course, if you had multiple stores connected to this one account or affiliated with this one account, you go ahead and select that there. And now, good to go after this. So now it's setting up our Vercel project, completing the installation of the integration, and now we're going to go ahead and deploy. And occasionally, the only part of this process that tends to take a little bit of time is the deployment. So we tell people be ready for up to 10 minutes, but between you and I, it almost never takes that long. We'll probably see it be done in a minute or two here. But a lot of people wonder, why does it take so long to deploy? The deployment of something in the Jamstack often takes a few minutes. Like I said, we say up to 10 minutes for building. And this is because Vercel is deploying on the edge. And this means that the deploying on the edge refers to the practice of placing computing resources. Oh, and see, we're already deployed. Placing those computing resources like servers and data centers closer to the end users rather than in a centralized location. And this can be accomplished by using edge devices like gateways, routers, and even small servers to perform processing and data storage tasks. In the context of e-commerce, deploying on the edge can have several benefits, kind of like what I was touching on before. Two of the main advantages are improved performance and responsiveness. Like I said, if you're in the e-commerce game, you know that responsiveness and performance are huge. It's what keeps people coming back to your website, or it's what keeps them from never coming back. And so being focused on that user experience is something that we are focused on and we think everyone should be focused on, and being on the edge helps really improve that user experience. And like I said, placing those resources closer to the end users, the time it takes to load a web page or process a transaction can be greatly reduced, which can lead to, again, better user experience. And additionally, deploying on the edge can help to reduce the load on centralized servers, which can also improve your scalability and reduce the risk of downtime. And Vercel, what we're deploying on, is a platform that allows devs to very easily deploy and host web projects. As you've seen, we're already deployed, and we've been doing this for about 5 minutes. And so it also allows developers to run code in the cloud without having to provision or manage any servers. So this is why we love deploying with Vercel. They provide great functionality as well as providing extreme ease of use. This has been, I hope you all agree, very easy so far. And congratulations, as you can see here, we are deployed. So you can see that this looks exactly like the end product that I showed you before. It is the exact same thing because it's a different URL and it's a different instance, but it's pulling from the same BigCommerce store that the other one I showed you was also pulling from. So once you're here, we can continue to our dashboard. And from here, there's 2 main things that you'll interact with if you want to make changes to your website, or if you want to view your website or make changes. So number 1 is the Git repository, which is exactly what you're expecting. It is a Git repository. It was, as you can see, just initiated 6 minutes ago. So this was just created when I created it via Vercel. And this is the repo that you would clone and make changes to. And anytime you push changes to this repo, they will be reflected in the UI of your store. Or if it's not something that you'd see in the UI, it'll be reflected in the functionality of your store. And the other thing that we can see, we can visit the store itself. So as you saw before, it looks identical because it is to the store that I showed you. Has the same clothing, has the same everything because it's coming from the same store. The only difference is that in the instance I showed you before, I've gone into the code and reduced the revalidation time from 200 to 1 so that we can watch things happen live in this demo instead of things taking 200 clicks, 200 refreshes to render. So as we move forward with the demo, we are going to go back to the one that I showed you right in the beginning. But this one is fully up and running. And that's all the steps that it took. So let's close out of this one. And I'm going to show you how you can go to different projects in your Vercel account. So when you're on Vercel, if you hit the triangle and go to Overview, it will be the projects that you have created via Vercel. This one over here is the one we just created. And you can see the last commit is the initial commit creating the repo itself. And on this one, you can see that this one was created an hour ago. I made it right before the demo. And the last commit was me updating the revalidation cadence. So we're going to go ahead and move forward with this one. Again, looks the same. I can look at the repository or I can visit the site. So we're going to want to visit the site. Okay, so now we're here. I want to go through some changes that we can make on the dashboard so you can manage your products on the Headless site. So go to login.bigcommerce.com and log into your store if you're not already logged in. And all right, we're all good. And we'll go here to products. So as you can see, these are the products that you can see in my store. The shoes, the track jacket, the baseball hat, the ankle weights. This makes me seem like I'm much more athletic than I am. I just kind of picked a theme. And whatever products you have in your store, they'll all show up here and they'll be the same ones that are rendered on the Headless site. Okay, so I wanted to make some changes in here and show you how quickly you can see them in the site itself. So the first way I want to do that is by, what do we want to do it with? Let's take the baseball hat. Currently, this baseball hat is only available in one color. I also encourage you to write better descriptions than me, but it's just a demo. So we'll go down to variations. Perfect. We want to add a variant option, and let's say it's color, and we want the colors to be, well, we need a pink because that's the picture, pink, green, and let's make this yellow. And let's save that. And then let's go to ankle weights. It currently has 4 variants. And I want to get rid of the 10-pound option. 10-pound ankle weight it's too heavy. I don't want to sell those anymore. So we'll save this. So now, well, of course, during a live demo, it's not going to work the way that I hope. But if you're doing this from your own computer, you're able to pull these images, pull these variants, pull all of this from your BigCommerce store, and it will render in your UI. I don't know if it's because I have the curse of the live demo or what, but this is what controls, your dashboard is what controls what is seen on your store. So this could just be a settings issue somewhere buried because I'm doing a demo and I don't know where it is. But everything you put in your products, all the details, all the descriptions, all of that is what is being rendered on that screen. In addition to that, all the functionality around adding things to cart, checking out, all of that is available because of your BigCommerce engine. So you can add things to your cart, you can check out, you can run all of those logistics through your BigCommerce dashboard, as well as getting all the metrics for your sales, for your customers, for account information. All of that can be stored in that dashboard. So when we talk about things being low code, no code, easy merchant experience, that's what we're talking about. The great developer experience comes from all of the options that devs have when they're building that front end. They can make things look how they want. They can make things function how they want. They can really have total creative freedom. And then on the back end, if you're the merchant who's hired an agency or hired a person to build your front end, you get to see all the things you want to see in a really easy to use dashboard. In addition to that, you can have control over adding products, changing images, changing descriptions, tracking things. You can do all of that without needing to rely on a developer to do it for you. You can power this whole site by your dashboard. And your BigCommerce dashboard is very comprehensive. For each product, we can add them to different categories. We can create new categories. We can delete categories, add products, change them, track our inventory, change pricing, create descriptions. All of this can be done right here, and it will all render on your storefront. Of course, as I'm doing it, it doesn't render for me, but I'm hoping that those of you watching this have sympathy for the live demo and know that this is sometimes just what happens in a
That's
demo.
what happens.
Yeah, I'm sorry that it's not
it happened
working.
to many other presentations we've done. I think the key here is that you have full control of all the products, and the fact that it's headless, you can then integrate that information with CMS information, combine it through like DXCP, like uniforms, and then put it all together into your multiple channels. So,
but yeah, if users go ahead and go through this same flow, it will work for you. This is how it works. And yeah, since I feel like I'm not able to demo the changes, that is kind of all I have.
Yeah, but people understand. I mean, they can't see the reflection, but they understand that that's what would happen. And that's why, I mean, it kind of circles back to your first point also that headless may not be for everybody because you do need a technical person. And you're a technical person, and you'll figure it out after you're done with the stream and see what happened. It was probably one checkbox or something.
Yep.
But you need people to help you figure some things out. But once it's up and running and everything's okay, you're not, you cloned a repo, you did a bunch of stuff that could go wrong live, right? Totally. But once you're in production, then the updates are much, much easier to do, and then you don't have to have all those people involved. So no, that was fine. Katie, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
If people want to get a hold of you, that's the best place.
Yes, that's my Twitter handle, and I am the most available all the time via Twitter.
Awesome, Katie. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And thank you for attending the Discover Headless Tech course. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, if you want to get a hold of me, right there, Marcelo@headlesscreator.com. So until the next episode, we'll see you.